Hey, this is your old teacher, math teacher, Mr. Presley, and I'm here to teach you about Elimination Level 1. I hope you're having a good day. Let's see what we can do here. Elimination Level 1. Let me move this little thing out of the way before it gets all over my nerves. I don't know where to put it. Okay, so we have a system of equations, and we're supposed to solve this system. So that means when we're done, we want a number that stands for x and a number that stands for y. And that x-y pair should make the first equation equal 9 and the second equation equal negative 23. And so instead of guessing at it, we have a method, and it's called elimination. And that is, we want to eliminate one variable. So our job today is to get rid of one of the letters. That's our first main job. So we'll look at the equations. It's called a system because there's two equations. We'll look at this equation and we see that the y's are opposite numbers. Negative 4 is the opposite of positive 4. And what that means is if I add these two together, they will cancel or eliminate. So I draw myself a little line and I add going down. I'm adding. So 3 plus negative 5 is negative 2x. You can use a calculator if you need to. 3 plus negative 5. Now negative 4 plus positive 4 cancels, and you don't write anything for that y. Let me make that 2 look a little better. All right, and then finally, 9 plus negative 3, and you know me, I'm going to use my calculator because I don't trust myself. Okay, I got negative 14. Yay! So what we've done is we have taken two complicated equations, added them together to make one simple equation. Now in that simple equation, I have negative 2x equals negative 14. Well, I need to get rid of or eliminate times negative 2. The opposite of that is to divide by negative 2. Let me turn everything just slightly here. All right, looking good. So these cancel, and I get x equals, and then on my calculator, I go negative 14 divided by negative 2, and I get positive 7. Now that means that the x of my answer is a 7. So my answer will have an x comma y. So already I know, and let me highlight here, that the x part is 7. Now when you say, well, what about y? So to find y, I take the first equation, I just copy it down. That's the first equation. See it? 3x minus 4y equals 9. I just copy it down. And in the place of x, I'm going to put a 7. So this will be 3 parentheses 7. See how the x is, it's like you're switching places. The x is gone, and 7 is in its place. Now the y is not gone anywhere. So we write that down. Now I'm going to move stuff around just a little bit because I can foresee that I'll have some space issues if I don't do this. Okay, so 3 times 7 is 21. And now you can see why we had to work on two-step equations the other day. It's because we got to get this y by itself. So we'll subtract 21. And again, because I get a little bit of pressure just like anybody else, so I'm going to use my calculator. I'm stressed. Oh, I got negative 12. Okay, and then I need to get rid of negative 4, so I will divide by negative 4. And remember, this is a video, so if I say something and it's a little too fast, you can rewind it. If I divide, I get positive 3. Well, now I'm going to use a different color there. That's my y value. So for y, I can put 3. And now my answer that I would type into the computer, or, that's what we're doing for Delta Math, is parentheses 7, comma 3, parentheses, or 7, comma 3. And that's our answer. Yay! So if I was to plug that back in, that's 7 for that x and that 3 for that y up here, I would end up with 9. Very cool. So, math class, things get a little bit harder. Let's look at another example. Now, if we look at this problem, remember last time Last time the y's canceled out. Well, if you look at this new problem, you'll realize that the x's right here, are opposite. So the x's are going to cancel out. But we do it the same way. We add going down. Negative x plus x cancels. Negative 8 plus negative 5 is negative 13y. Cool. Add on this side, 2 plus negative 15 is negative 13. Slow down. What happened? The x's eliminated. They canceled. The y's combined to be negative 13y. The whole numbers at the end on the right side also combined, and they just happen to also give negative 13. Now to solve this little tiny equation, we would divide by negative 13, and we would get y equals positive 1. So remember from a while ago, you need an answer that has an x, then a y. Well, we now know that the y is 1. See there? But I got to find my x. So what I do, I take that first equation, I copy it down, and I plug in, and I'm going to use colors instead of arrows. I'm going to take that 1, and this time I got to plug it in for that letter y. Last time we had to plug in for the letter x, where that yellow is, but this time the letter y, where that green is. All right, so instead of negative 8y, I write negative 8 times, we think it's 1, so we're going to plug in a 1. So negative 8 times 1 is negative 8. Okay. Then we need to get x by itself, so we'll add 8. And we get negative x equals 10. Cool. Now that understood to be negative 1x. So I need to divide both sides by negative 1 to get the x completely by itself. And we get negative 10. So I can write that in for my x value. Now remember, this is a video, so you can rewind if I go a little fast. I don't mean to. All right, so those two equations look very similar, right? The last problem and this problem, except this time we found y first, and last time we found x first. Now, sometimes they don't just immediately cancel. So we got a third problem we're going to look at, and that is this guy. Uh-oh, no opposites. See, those are not opposite. But let's take a look at those two. Yes, they're not opposite, but they're the same. So if they're the same, we're going to multiply one equation by negative 1. Now, the delta math, we'll call it subtract. And it's the same thing. We're going to take this equation and we're going to multiply by negative 1. Okay, so our first equation stays the same. We don't want it to change. We want it to stay 4. But we want the second part to become negative 4. So I'm going to distribute across just like that. Okay, so I'm doing negative 4x plus 9y and positive 2. Cool. Now I'll add going down. Why did I do that? Here's why. 4 plus negative 4 cancels. Okay, now remember we distributed, so all these signs changed on the bottom. Negative 10 plus 9 is negative 1y. And if you want to put a 1 there, you can, but it's a negative y. And then 0 plus 2 is 2. Now we got to get that y by itself. So we'll divide by negative 1 and we get negative 2. So I know that my answer is going to have a negative 2 for y. And to stick with my color scheme, I'll use green for y. Now, I don't know why that went dark over there. There we go. Now, where am I plugging that in at? Well, I've got to take the first equation. So I like to put a squiggly here. I'm going to take the first equation like that. And for the letter y, I'm going to plug in a negative 2. So 4x minus 10 times negative 2 equals 0. Okay, we'll move it up a little bit. So when I multiply negative 10 times negative 2, I get plus 20. Remember, you can always use your calculator. To get x by itself, we'll subtract 20. We get 4x equals negative 20. Then we'll divide by 4. We get x equals negative 5. Remember now, this is a video, so you can always go back. Oh, meant to use yellow. You can always rewind. Basically, the same old steps we've taken over and over. And now we plug in negative 5. All right, so email me if you've got questions. I hope you have a good day. We've looked at 3 different types, and now you're ready for, let's go back and see that title, Algebra 1 in Elimination Level 1. Thank you.